I did not call Senator Sanders an ignorant slut. The cocaine was there.
So true. So true.
So true.
Big, strong friend of mine.
That is so true.
He weighed like 250 then, which 250 then is big. That's like 310 now, right? This was a long time ago.
People who are bilingual, they speak English and stupid.
Always wanted to see a sumo tournament. So true. Grande ultra best.
What the hell did I do? Here we go again.
Ultra best.
Angry. I was angry. Yes, I am angry. I'm angry. I was angry. Would you rather have the black president or the white president? You want the white guy.
How are you, Mr. President, sir? How are you?
So true. 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 So true.
Hello. Hi. Thank you. Welcome back to my show. You know, for a man who sure talks shit on trans people and gay people, Donald sure does sound like a woman himself, and not in a good way. Let's check out what I mean.
Does Trump really wear a girdle?
On certain days, yes.
So true.
What's that about?
Yeah. He's an image-oriented guy. He's a television entertainer. He hates taking pictures of him from the side because he just looks too fat from the side. He likes to take pictures head on. Spends a lot of time on his hair. It's like a sort of a weave thing that he does up there. He's got a certain orange war paint that he wears. He's got 2-inch heels, lifts in his shoes, even though he's a reasonably tall person. There's insecurity there. There's the hyper-masculinity is a tell for how insecure the guy actually is. And so what I don't understand, and I think people will write about 50 years from now, is that we just had a group of political cowards that couldn't stand up to the guy. I don't understand what were they fearful of. And maybe it just was they want to stay in power more than they want to serve the public.
Preach it, boy. I mean, it's obvious. It doesn't take a genius expert to figure that out. I mean, it's very clear. He's super insecure. That's why he has to insult people all the time. While we're on this whole power trip, I got a real goodie for you, and it's our girl that I'm very honored to be sharing the same name with.
But Elon and Trump are trying to threaten and intimidate. Are you intimidated?
No.
What's the answer?
Listen, here's the reality. Now, I can't speak for anybody else, but I used to ask myself, if I was a part of the civil rights movement back in the day, what role would I play? Never imagined that I would be able to play this type of role, because we know that they had to fight so that seats like this could exist in the Congress in the first place. So as only the 55th black woman elected to Congress, knowing that people fought for what they could not see, I think that I owe it not only to the generations that came before me, but the generations that are coming behind me. If they could risk their lives, if they could be jailed, if they could be beaten, and do it all for somebody that they never knew would exist, known as Jasmine Crockett, then I can do just a little bit by making sure that I raise my voice. And to be perfectly honest, I know that they all talk about how Christian they are,
So true.
but I am the child of a preacher, and I am going to say that God has not given me a spirit of fear. So I will not be intimidated. I will not be scared. I know that what I am doing is right. No matter how they try to persecute me, no matter how many lies they put out against me, I will stand strong because I know how I got here, and I know that the generations coming behind me deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman.
Damn, that is some otherworldly thinking right there. She reaches out. Her mind is expanded. Okay, she was thinking about the past and how it got to this point, and then what, for the people like her in the future, and what it means on the bigger picture, and why she's not intimidated or fear, she doesn't fear any of these people, because on a larger scale, there's so much more going on than just what everybody tends to zone in on. They have tunnel focus on what's right now, what's Donald doing, but she's got that. That's what I'm constantly telling people, you know, it's like, you guys are so worried about this one thing, you're not going to even remember it in 2 weeks. And if you look at the bigger picture of things, you'll realize that all this pettiness doesn't really, I mean, she was saying more, you know, even beyond that, but it's kind of similar to what I try to tell people when I'm trying to knock some sense into them. But who knows if it works. I feel like half the time it works. Half the time it doesn't work. That was some real shit. This is Donahue. I don't know if those of you who are old enough, whatever, if you know Donahue, you're considered old now, I guess, today. It's kind of crazy to say. But this is Donahue just is so masterful at this. I wish that reporters and anybody who interviews Donald would go about it this exact same way. It's like, what? I just don't get what got lost in the past.
Would make money, this lawsuit. So you hire Roy Cohn and he goes to work and you win it. Cohn doesn't like lawyers either because they always want to settle, and you don't like that about lawyers. The idea of settling drove me crazy. The fact was that we did rent to blacks in our buildings. What we didn't do was rent to welfare cases, white or black. I'd watched what happened when the government came after Samuel LaFranc.
What you're also seeing here is Donald's never read his own book. Somebody else wrote it, and Donahue's reading, you know, a piece to him, and Donald's probably like, oh, yeah. This is all due to him.
And he caved in and started taking welfare cases. They virtually ruined his buildings.
Let him have it.
Welfare cases ruined his buildings. Isn't that... aren't you pretty close here to looking like an insensitive guy from atop your Trump Tower looking down on the Woolman Rink over the vast holdings of your own empire? Shouldn't we have just a little more understanding from a man of your influence and wealth on the issue of making New York livable for all of us, safety on the subway? If the answer is absolutely, then we can't continue to give you guys these big tax breaks, and that would go for General Electric and NBC too. You tell us in your own book that you would make money on the Trump Tower in New York, but when everybody without the tax breaks.
Without the tax breaks. Know what I'm saying? Jeez Louise, did we even say what year that was?
That you would make money.
1987, bitch. That's why people have done it better in the 80s. That is what's up. You know what? Here's some other deep thinking from someone else who's highly regarded.
When I start talking about Trump, I get too flustered in my head, and the shit that I want to say, there's too many things I want to say at once. So sometimes I start talking and I'm not able to convey the message the right way because I just get flustered and frustrated. Watching him play to his base that thinks that he cares about them, and it's actually the people that he cares about the fucking least.
So true.
If you're talking about his core being, you know, a majority white middle class, what I don't understand is how in the fuck do you feel like you relate to a billionaire who has never known struggle his entire fucking life? I will say this, he talks a good one. And if you're in his base, you're a core, let's say you're going to the rallies or whatever, you watch him on TV, you hear him talking this shit, there's part of me that understands, like, all right, he's somehow still got them because he's brainwashing them into thinking that something great is gonna happen. Nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. I don't know, man.
That is exactly my thought and how I feel about it. Because it's like, I get it too. I do get it. I don't understand it, but I get it. You know what I mean? I see it and I'm able to get it, but I don't understand it. Like, I'm not taking it in and fully understanding it as they are. But it's crazy, and it sucks. The fact that they are just waiting for something to happen. They're just constantly gonna wait for something to happen, and it's not, like you said, nothing's happening. Nothing's gonna happen, but they don't know that yet. But it's easy to grab them by the balls that way, because that's like, you know, casino. It's like, oh, the next move is gonna be my jackpot. This next dollar is gonna be my own. If you like this video, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. And comment, and just do me a favor and subscribe. It's gonna be more awesome. I know this is like You're trying to figure out what you're even watching right now, but it's gonna be good. Don't worry.
So true.
Don't worry. It's gonna be really good. Okay, so I know that a lot of people have their ifs, ands, and buts about Destiny, but you know, he does say a lot of pretty incredible things sometimes. I don't know how to feel about him. Whenever he talks about politics and stuff, there hasn't been a single thing he said that I've disagreed with yet, but I haven't dipped into like his whole world or anything.
When you say American exceptionalism, what do you believe in? Do you believe in American exceptionalism or British exceptionalism? Because I don't understand what you mean when you say American exceptionalism and then you're anti-immigration. Like, where do you think Americans come from? They come from other countries, right? Unless you live on a Native American reservation and you want to see the expansion of their territory.
When America was becoming America, immigration was coming from a different part of the world. I think a part of the world that was approximately the size of Florida. Now we are getting people from, we'll say, places that are maybe a little bit less compatible. And I don't think that they're assimilating very well. And I think that pretty much any metric by which you choose to evaluate that would vindicate the truth of that. That's specifically what I
agree. Sure. And I think that there's a large point of agreement there. I do think that there are a lot of immigrants that have trouble assimilating to society today, but that's because half of the society that you want them to assimilate to possess no American values. And by that, I mean the Conservative Party. I expected to see Spanish people, Haitian people, whoever, marching on the Capitol or marching to tear down this country, and that's not what I've seen. I've seen conservatives that are destructive to the country in every single way. You don't believe in the rule of law. You don't believe in how the government works. You don't share foundational American principles relating to liberalism, relating to respect to free speech or the media. These are the foundational core aspects that make you an American. And right now, the issue that we have is the conservative side of the country. It's not immigrants. It's not the people that are coming into the country and not eating the cats and dogs that are a threat. It's the people who are saying that they saw it on TV when it's not even happening. That's the thing that's undermining our democracy right now.
Boom. Boom. Like, I was right, dead on. That's like, right? I mean, it should be like common sense. He worded it and explained it way better than my own thoughts could have interpreted it, but that's dead on. I like Krystal. I like Kyle Krishink. This is a real goodie because I just love seeing Bill Maher get taken down these days.
I mean, part of this inflationary problem is because we put too much money into the economy. There's way too much government spending, and that's why we have inflation. So that's a large part of that. It's just basic economics.
And that is not basic economics. We had this thing called a pandemic. We had a supply chain crisis. And oh, by the way, there's a war in Ukraine.
It played a role. It's played a role.
So to act like the only reason we have problems now is because people got a little bit of money in their bank account is just not honest.
And a little bit of money, they got more than we spent in World War II. So you don't act like
hold on. Hold on.
No, let him be snobby. Let him be snobby.
Don't act like we had to react to the pandemic exactly the way we did. We had to spend $6 trillion.
Okay, but how about the trillions that the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street? For some reason, people don't get upset about that.
How much? What'd you say?
Fueled the trillions of dollars the Federal Reserve shot at Wall Street to backstop the stock market and the bond market. No one gets upset about that, even though that was a massive
I don't know what
factor in
you're talking
inflation.
about. What do you mean shot at Wall Street?
Well,
when are we talking about?
We're talking about buying assets, buying stocks, buying bonds, buying treasury bills so that they expand the balance sheet. This is during the crisis, the coronavirus crisis. When the stock market crashed, that is what the Fed did. They went into action. They shot
But the stock market didn't crash during
COVID. It's crashing now.
It crashed, and the Fed came in and backstopped it. That's what happened.
It crashed and we never
heard
about it?
No, it crashed. Go back and look at it. It fell off a cliff.
When?
The Treasury bond market stopped functioning, and the Fed took extraordinary action it's never taken in history.
I don't
Somehow
remember
no one
that.
gets upset.
The first week of the
Somehow nobody gets upset about the rich people who got tons of money and tons of support, way more than working class people did.
Sure
but
they do.
My God, people were able to feed their kids and they had a little bit of money in their bank accounts. It was the worst thing in the world.
No.
That is one small part of the inflation story, and is, by the way, not the only thing that we can deal with to get out of this mess.
And you know what's funny is that a lot of people in the comments, stimulus checks accounted for $672 billion. We spent $6 trillion and quadrupled the money supply. Stimulus checks were not the bulk of inflation. Bill Maher doesn't adjust for inflation. Bro, how is it possible Bill is so uninformed? Look at all these people remember too. How could you forget? Bill didn't even know there was a crash. He shouldn't even be commenting on things in a major venue on TV. Bill and his whole team. How does Bill Maher have a whole team and didn't know the market crashed due to COVID? I can't believe the audience claps right away at the time. probably crashed. He didn't even know the market crashing. Isn't that crazy? I love that.